Norway has drawn a firm line under one of Europe's longest-running rotary wing headaches, choosing certainty over courtroom spectacle in its bruising dispute with NH Industries. Instead of pressing a multi-billion-euro claim over the troubled NH90 program, Oslo has accepted a negotiated settlement that sends every helicopter, along with spare parts, tooling, and associated equipment, back to the manufacturer in exchange for €305 million on top of a previously paid €70 million bank guarantee, for a total of €375 million. The figure is a far cry from the eye-watering sums officials once floated, but it delivers two things a courtroom could not guarantee on schedule: closure and a clean operational reset. The settlement marks the noisy end of a relationship that, in Norwegian eyes, never lived up to its billing. The NH90 was supposed to be a versatile, modern workhorse for maritime and land missions. Instead, delays compounded into maintenance shortfalls and fragile availability, leaving commanders planning around what could fly rather than what was needed. At the heart of the grievance was utilization. The fleet generated only a fraction of the flight hours originally envisaged, with officials citing roughly 700 hours in a typical year versus plans closer to several thousand, numbers that, more than any brochure metric, determine whether a helicopter program is truly viable. For Norway's Ministry of Defense, the dispute was about more than sunk costs. It was a test of whether a small nation with high-latitude obligations could rely on promised capability when it counted. When the answer appeared to be not reliably, the government took the politically risky step of cancelling the program, setting the stage for years of legal choreography. Early signals suggested compensation in the hundreds of millions of euros linked to returning the aircraft, but in public rhetoric the figure later ballooned into the multiple billions, a negotiating position designed to underscore the perceived scale of lost readiness and to maximize leverage ahead of any trial that, ultimately, never came. NH Industries, for its part, had compelling incentives to settle. A harsh judgment could have triggered ripple effects across a wide user community and invited copycat litigation. By reclaiming the aircraft and writing a check that, while large, is finite, the consortium avoids a precedent that might haunt future bids and sustainment contracts. It also gains a tangible asset base, airframes and parts that can be refurbished, updated, and placed with operators whose missions, maintenance philosophies, and budgets might align better with the NH90's realities than Norway's did. The return of Norway's airframes immediately feeds a secondary storyline: redistribution. Of the 14 helicopters ordered in 2001, 13 were delivered and only 8 reached full specification, yet all now become candidates for overhaul and reuse. Spain, which has pursued additional NH90 procurement, is a plausible recipient if the numbers make sense and policymakers are comfortable integrating refurbished inventory into a long-term fleet plan. More broadly, the ability to recycle complex platforms is a reminder that defense equipment, unlike consumer goods, retains value even after a contract collapses. With the right upgrades and sustainment plan, used but overhauled helicopter can become a bargain for a nation willing to accept some risk in exchange for price and speed. Norway's exit does not exist in a vacuum. The NH90 remains in frontline service with Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, New Zealand, Oman, and Qatar, among others. These countries point to successful mission profiles and ongoing modernization as evidence that the type can deliver when supported properly. Yet the list of skeptics has grown. Australia retired its MH90 Taipan fleet, citing similar frustrations, and both Belgium and Sweden have declared intentions to divest. The result is a split verdict: a platform that can work for some operators under specific conditions while proving unacceptably fragile for others whose operational tempo and geographic demands are less forgiving. Oslo, meanwhile, has already charted its replacement path. A procurement of HH-60W helicopters, valued at roughly €1.09 billion, signals a shift toward a more conventional, heavily supported U.S. design with deep supply chains and a long maintenance pedigree. The settlement cash will cover only a portion of that bill, but the strategic calculus is different now. Instead of waiting for uncertain relief through litigation while nursing a fleet that could not sustain readiness, Norway buys its way out of limbo. In national security terms, reducing uncertainty is often worth more than wringing out the last euro in damages. The case offers 3 durable lessons for European procurement. First, availability is the real currency. Technical specifications and performance envelopes matter, but if airframes do not produce reliable flight hours, political support will evaporate. Second, litigation is a blunt instrument in defense. Lawsuits may sharpen negotiating positions, yet militaries need predictable timelines and assured capability. Settlements, however imperfect, tend to arrive faster than judgments and carry fewer strategic side effects. Third, the secondary market for complex systems is not a graveyard but an ecosystem. Equipment that underperforms for one operator can be rebaselined and matched with another, especially where mission sets are different or sustainment investments are structured more aggressively. Critics will argue that Norway blinked, trading a headline claim measured in billions for a settlement measured in hundreds of millions. Supporters will counter that the government extracted the outcomes it most urgently needed: a full reset of a failing fleet, partial cost recovery, and the ability to pivot rapidly to a platform more aligned with national requirements. Both perspectives contain truths, but they frame the question differently. The point of defense procurement is not to win lawsuits, it is to deliver ready forces. In that light, the calculus becomes less about financial theatrics and more about restoring credible capability on a practical timeline. For NH Industries and its parent stakeholders, this is not a victory lap. The financial hit is real, and the task of rehoming, upgrading, and supporting the returned helicopters will test the consortium's ability to turn a reputational challenge into an industrial opportunity. Yet avoiding the glare and precedent of a court ruling is valuable in its own right. It preserves maneuver space with existing customers, many of whom continue to bet on the NH90, and it allows the manufacturer to focus on tangible improvements rather than legal briefs. Ultimately, the settlement reads as an act of pragmatism by both sides. Norway gets out from under a program that became synonymous with delay, frees itself to rebuild capability with a platform it believes will fly when tasked, and pockets a measure of compensation on the way out. NH Industries sidesteps the uncertainty of trial, reclaims assets it can potentially monetize, and draws a line under a dispute that dominated the narrative around its flagship helicopter. In military aviation, arguments about specifications, contracts, and liability can fill volumes, but the only metric that moves a mission is the number of aircraft that are truly ready to launch. By that standard, this deal gives each party a chance to reset, and that, more than any courtroom verdict, is likely to shape what happens next.